Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back to the Crow's Nest Railroad. Well, we're on the road over here at the interdimensional shop of Bob Rapperstra, and we get to work on the 15-inch gauge locomotive chassis today, so stay tuned. Well, you remember last time we were working on these conrods, and now we're questioning whether or not we want to paint the wheels before we go any further. So we're gonna just pause for a second. All right, so today's fun. I'm gonna try and tear this apart. This is the brake actuator here, and we got to find out how it's going to be working. Here's the brake shoes here. So what happens is this thing forces up, and there's less room for these arms, and so they push out and apply braking to the wheels. So let's get busy here. And here as well from last time, you see we dressed out these rods. Got all the little giblets put back together here, and Bob clear coated these for now. Trying to decide whether or not they should get like either nickel plated or maybe some powder coating, but that's a decision for another day. But they are looking fine right now, and as soon as I'm done with the brake cylinder, we'll probably start working on the other side of the chassis. So I'm going to start by seeing if we can get this bracket off here. And we got all of our bolts off. Just tiny tippity tap on that. And there we go. All right. And here's our brake shoes. And by the way, there's a cylinder for the port side and the starboard side on this locomotive. So there's two of these. So we'll pull this chamber apart, see what's going on the inside. Here's a look at the brake shoe. Bob, that almost looks like an asbestos something brake shoe. Or leather, hard leather. Well, some days you get the groveling on the ground kind of jobs, and then other days you get to work comfortably on the bench and get to rip something apart and see what's going on inside. It just doesn't get any better than that. All right, we've got the top and the bottom unbolted. This is the big reveal here. Ta-da! Can you see in there? It's basically a cylinder. Milled out cylinder. And there's a port on the top. There's a tiny little bit of screen and like a little C type clamp holding that in there. And as Bob suspected, there's our spring, which forces the piston back down, and here's our piston.
Where's the ring?
Releases the pressure. There's that spring. And I can't imagine, it's still got a bunch of grease on the inside of the cylinder here.
Does it?
Yeah. Now there's a tiny bit of what I would think is maybe a little rust in there. Let me get it. Does the budget allow for paper towels here in the shop, Bob? Or?
Yes, you see them on the end of the...
oh, there it is. Do you have to pay per sheet?
You do. All right, I'm going to have you wipe that clean.
Yeah, does that look like a little rust?
Yeah, I'm going to have you wipe that clean.
See what I'm talking about there, right on that center? There's just a little bit of rust. So the thing I'm trying to figure out, Bob, is where the spark plug goes on this. All right, got this put back together twice because the first time I forgot the return spring, so we had to carefully get those small rings back into the cylinder without damaging them. So I'm ready to put this back on the chassis. Okay, there's not much more we can do with these brake cylinders right now. Did cover up the openings to keep some of the debris out of there. Eventually we're going to have to plumb in for compressed air to shoot in the bottom, forcing those pistons up, collapsing this rod here and forcing the shoe into the wheels. But Bob's thinking we should wait until the boiler and the cab are on so we can see what avenues we have free to run line from here to an air compressor of some kind. So on to the next project. All right, next I had to pull the pins on this bracket here. This gets attached to the reversing lever, and this throws up and down, and eccentrics work this to work the front valve. And of course, in order to start the locomotive going forward or reverse, you have to apply steam to either the front or the back of the piston. So this controls that. It also affects the timing of the locomotive, how far the valve swings and how much steam gets in there, so you can kind of lean out the steam if you notch up on the control. But anyway, had to pull these pins, we got that. Now I'm going to go over to the other side and start to pull the rods off that side like we did this side. So here's all the mechanism that's got to go next. But you saw what I did on the other side, so there's no need for me to show that again. There we go. All the port side rods off. All the linkages there, ready to be cleaned up. Alright, you might find this pretty cool. While I'm banging rocks together out in the driveway, working with spanners and crescent wrenches, Bob is in here doing the real machining work. You can see his measurements and design here. Basically, we were short by one of these securing pins. These are the ones that I knocked out of that linkage. And you can see it's a solid rod slotted on one end, reduced shank here, and threaded.
And that's a 5/16 24 thread, and we ended up one pin short, as Stan said. So it's a simple matter to put it in the lathe, turn the thread diameter up to the shoulder here, and then that whole ensemble fits into the end.
Wait, you had to cut this down though, right?
Yes, that has to be, diameter has to be changed to fit in this aspect of it here. So that goes down in there and ultimately fits out the other side.
Yeah,
and
this hole is bigger than this one.
Yes, that's correct. So it ends up stopping at this bottom piece here. A nut goes on that end, and there's a small cotter pin that gets slit through a hole in the end of this new piece, or this new piece.
So what's left on this? You got to part it off then?
Part it off then, cut the groove in it, and we're ready to marry that to the rest of the pieces parts we've got.
Cool. You can do that now?
I'll do that now.
I'm going to take a picture of it.
Okay.
Oh, this is hot. Ah, there it is, ready to be cleaned up on the end. Woo. smoothing the end.
Yep. Just making it beauteous.
Are you putting a little chamfer on the edge?
You
Or
put a little chamfer on the edge.
just like downtown.
Just because that's what
See if I can catch my camera on this.
Hey, let me help you with this file. I just don't have a milling cutter small enough to cut a simple slot, so we won't go sophisticated, we'll go low tech.
So we are going to show you now. This is a highly secretive government technique requiring thousands of dollars worth of tools.
Don't make me laugh.
Wonder what the government's getting for hacksaws these days. Military issue hacksaw.
This is a $300,000 hacksaw. It's CNC controlled by me.
Yeah, right. B&B. Bob and Buddy controlled.
That's
Now, what kind of a steel is it? It seems to be cutting pretty easy. What kind of
It's
steel?
just a mild steel.
Mild steel.
And that would be
Is that like mild sauce on your taco?
like
Or?
a 1018 steel, for example.
Oh, well, that makes, yeah, 1018.
Fine.
Can you
honey.
compare it? Like
Yes.
something of a sardine can like that? No.
Something of a sardine can like that, yes. Now, the trick of that is it's a mild steel, meaning that it doesn't have a lot of alloying that makes it hard. You want
Carbon,
it soft.
not a lot of carbon content?
That's right. So you want it soft so you can file it, control the
Sure.
cuts, all that.
With your really expensive government hacksaw,
If
putting a
you're
slot
really
in there.
That's right.
We just need to hold that pin steady while the nut goes on the other side. That's the only reason for the slot, since obviously the head is round and there's no way to put a wrench on it. Okay, like those pictures on the internet, pick out the one that doesn't match. 3, and then we added the 4th. So that'll wrap it up for this episode. Bob and I say thank you so much for watching. Right here on the Crow's Nest Railroad, we'll keep you up to date on all the activity here on the 15-inch gauge American locomotive rebuild. See you right here next time.